Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Brawley City Council successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 20th at 6 p.m. here at the City Council chambers. If we can have the roll call, please.
Mayor Nava.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Warden.
Here.
Councilmember Howdicky.
Here.
Councilmember Hamby.
Here.
Councilmember Kelchman.
Here. All right, thank you. If you could please rise. Our invocation by Pastor Tom Charlton of the Full Gospel Church.
I really didn't know tonight was going to be a tie and jacket situation. I forgot my tie, I'm sorry. Members of the council, mayor, and esteemed audience, we're asking for the Lord's blessing tonight. And looking at the agenda, I think we need God's guidance, amen? Precious Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for your goodness, for your love, and for your mercy. We thank you, Lord, that you allow us to have these meetings. Many cities, many countries don't have this privilege. We thank you for that. And since we have these meetings and decisions are to be made, there's good decisions and they're bad. So we ask you, Lord, to guide this council, that the right decisions would be made, that the city of Brawley can continue to be proud of the way it's growing and things that are doing here. We ask for your blessings on this meeting tonight. We ask it in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Would our finance director lead us in the pledge, please, Rosa?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Rosa, very much. The next item is the approval of the agenda, but before we do that, I'd like to pull an item, regular business item 5B. I'll pull that item for discussion at a later date. And having said that, I will make a motion to approve the agenda, removing item 5B from regular business. Is there a second? There's a second? I'll second it. All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is item 2, public appearances and comments not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to make a public appearance or has a comment? Please come up.
Come in peace. Joe Reblar, 261 West K Street, Brawley. I just came here, to invite the council to come on my show, my podcast, Small Town News. No offense, but I'm kind of over Luke and Sam. You guys have come on way too many times. Norma, next month, even Rosanna is National Women's History Month. I think that'd be a great time to come on and share about your career, your experiences. I know Donnie, we've tried to schedule things, but haven't. But we talked about it. George, I haven't spoken to you in a while, so. You're the mayor, and I know you have an upcoming plan for downtown, and I think that would be a great opportunity to get public input from a different audience who might not be able to attend these meetings. So just throwing it out there. Obviously, I've been in contact with all of you, so you guys know my contact information, but I just wanted to publicly put that out there for your public invitation. So it's out there, and thank you guys, and I look forward to speaking with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rolla.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a comment here tonight? Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, that's scheduled presentation, and that's 3A, the Village at Brawley Union High School, BUHS, accompanied by BUHS faculty member Beth Carson.
Ladies, if you could go to this side, Alma's going to set you up in the PowerPoint.
And it's pages 4 to 13 on our agenda packet, please.
Hello, my name is April Armstrong and I am president of the Village, and today we are going to be telling you about the Village. It is a club that we have here and it's on Brawley Union campus. Can I change it?
I think you can just roll it down, let's see. There you go. All right, see? Easy enough.
What is the Village? The Village is a club that we have in Brawley Union High School where members collect donations and supplies and organize them as a cost-free store. The purpose of the room is to fulfill students and their families in our community and to let them know that they have a comfortable environment so they can go and get stuff. Who came up with this amazing idea?
All right.
The Village was started as a senior project by 2 students in 2016. The room was presented to our advisor, Ms. Carson, and she took it upon herself to make it into a club, and she had her English class work in the room. What the Village offers. The Village offers a variety of stuff. We offer men clothes, children's clothes, women's, and our students. We have formal apparel, we have shoes, we have socks, we have blankets, we have canned food, we have school supplies, and we have toiletries. Some of our success stories: families and students walk in the room happy knowing that there is a safe haven on campus to provide supplies and personal needs. Students find clothes, and we have had some students go in there with not being able to join extracurricular activities such as IVROP or construction, and we've been able to provide them with the needs that they need, with the stuff that they need for them to join extra stuff. Can't change the page. Club accomplishments. We've done this Saturday. We just had a Saturday work day where we work in the room and we organize it and we take out all of our winter clothes and we just put in our summer clothes. We've helped feed the need this Saturday, and this is our second time we've done that. It was a huge success. We've done teachers canned food drive where teachers donate canned foods and we put them in the room to give back to our community. And we've done some activities with the volleyball games where we take school supplies and you get into the volleyball games or basketball games for free as long as you donate something. Yeah.
And just to add more to feed the need, we got donations from a lot of people in our community. Like, I think Stockman's was able to donate, because it was a pulled pork lunch, so they donated the meat. And then we had students from our club donate bread, and we were able to get a gift card from Bonds to get water, plates, cups, napkins. And so we had some people in the community who needed extra help, like with lunches. So the Everyday Feed the Need serves from 12 to 1. So it's really interesting to see the kind of people that came in and their stories and get to know them. And it was really interesting. And also for the fashion show, I coordinated that one with our graphic design teacher, and so we just wanted to take away the stigma of the clothes, because they're already used clothes secondhand, so a lot of people were uncomfortable with visiting our room or taking clothes away. They were shy.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to put together that room put together the fashion show just so they could see that they're good clothes, they're nice clothes, and it's okay to see them.
Fantastic.
And on this slide we have the room when we started and the room now. And these are some pictures. Some on the right are new pictures, some are old pictures. The room is actually a lot more packed, and we got new shelves and stuff, so everything's hung up, no more racks. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you. And if there's any questions or comments.
Great work. I'm glad that the room is set up and it's successful. Question for you though, with respect to who's able to access like the clothing and other items that are in there, is it just like the families of students, or is it anybody that can go out there?
Anybody.
Oh, really?
Anybody,
Fantastic.
yeah. So we've even had families that their students don't go to our school, and they just are like, oh, well, is there any way we can access it? And you're like, yeah, you can access it. Your students, your children, your family. Yeah. So anybody can access it.
Fantastic, fantastic.
If someone wanted to donate something, who would they talk to?
You could talk to our advisor, Dr. Carson, or you can, in the office, they already know that we've had people just drop off clothes and they'll just say this is for the village, and then we pick it up from the office.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So there's a drop box there in the front office, or?
It's not necessarily a drop-off box, but if you go and say this is for the village, we'll put it to the corner.
Okay,
Yeah, and then we get the call to pick it up.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming and
Congratulations.
presenting. Congratulations on your success. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you again. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular business. 5A, discussion and potential action to approve determination of public convenience and necessity for sale of beer at Leon's Place located at 1115 East Main Street. The backup materials on pages 41 to 45.
Good evening, Commander Hauser, Brawley PD. I'm here on behalf of the police department in reference to a request for a letter from the police department, from the city for a public convenience and necessity finding for Leon's Place, which is a proposed bar for an ABC license of beer only, located at 1115 East Main Street.
All right. Thank you very much, Commander Hauser. So with respect to discussion, potential action, is there any comment from our city manager on this item?
Would like to note for the benefit of council and the audience that this particular location was previously occupied. There have, over the years, been 2 taverns that have existed side by side. In the last 6 years or so, there have been 2 different operators at this location, and the new proposed operator is part of the original ownership group. There are representatives here today. Mr. Carbajal is here, present in the audience, as well as nearby business operator, Mr. Guzman. As been shared with the council on prior occasions, there have been noise concerns that have arisen with previous operators. They are noted in the record. I requested that the police department pull its complaint logs for the last 12 months of operation. Up until late last year, the tavern was in actual use. It's only since the end of the year that it closed for the time being, and then a new application was initiated, and that is what is in the package today. There have been a very few calls in the last period since January 2017's beginning, but there appears and continues to be some discomfort with a nearby tenant who also resides at a adjacent property. So do want to note for council's benefit that one of the kind of unique characteristics of these 2 taverns side by side is one of them has a non-conforming use attached to it, which is a residence at the rear of the tavern. So that at times has created some challenges from a coexistence point of view from noise impacts. We did work with ABC closely with the last licensing process to ensure that a additional condition was attached to the license, where the rear doors and the front doors, while the business is in operation, shall remain closed. So the doors won't be open for those locations, therefore the noise impacts will be minimized. If there are any further questions, happy to answer them, and there may be members of the audience that wish to advocate for or express reservations about moving forward.
Thank you very much for the comment. Is there, first I'll open it up to council comments. Are there any questions or comments from the city council members with respect to this item?
I don't have any.
Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. If there's anybody from the public that would like to make a comment on this particular item, please come up and do so now. Sir, I know you're known throughout the world, but if you could please state your name for the record, we'd appreciate it very much.
Good evening, Mayor, honorable council members, and Mr. Hamid. Pleasure to meet you.
Me too.
Madam City Manager, my name is Jerry Santillan, and I'm at 183 North Cesar Chavez Streets within the noticed area. I'm a resident nearby. I'm here today in support and wished for you to issue a letter to the Department of the ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control, to support the license for Mr. Leon Mercado Carvajal and Ms. Maria Jones. We're a longtime family. As a matter of fact, have lived in that area for probably, we're over 101 years old here in Brawley. But in our residence, we've been there since 1952. So we're nearby. We enjoy the comfort of the neighborhood, the ambiance of the neighborhood, and encourage growth for all businesses, for small businesses. And you've been known to continue to carry that torch to bring small businesses to the area, and we encourage you to support the license in way of a letter to them, and we're here to answer any particular questions that you may have. But again, we wish for you to consider approval of the letter to ABC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Santillan. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Is there anyone here else who would like to make a comment on behalf of this particular topic?
I think if I hit escape, it's hard to get
Hi, good evening, City Council. My name is Josephine Guillen. I was the previous owner or person that was running the Tony's place. And I would just like to say thank you, Mr. Nava, for calling me at 2015. When we opened up, you expressed your concern that you would be able to help us. I appreciated that. I still remember that. Thank you. And I would like to say that, yes, there were a lot. There were over 18 restrictions to that bar. It wasn't just to keep the doors closed, the front and the back. There were a lot of restrictions, which I am not going to go into. But I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to letting us try and keep that place, that Traven, open. And it worked fine. It worked fine, very good. But it was a lot of harassment, a lot of calling and all this stuff. I personally never, ever called the police department, never, to complain or anything. It might be noted there that I never called. And if you guys have any questions about the past or anything, feel free to ask me, and I'll tell you.
Ms. Guillen, thank you very much for your comment. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Take that off. Yeah, we took it
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Maria Jones. I am the legal owner of Tony's Place, and we bought this property in 2000, June of 2000, and we ran the place for 13 years. We would like to continue running the place since we've been having problems finding potential renters to rent the place, so we decided that maybe it is time for us to take over and continue running the place. Tony's opened his place, his doors for the first time in 1950. And we would like to, for you to grant us the approval to ABC so we can continue running the place and continue to make Brawley great. We do provide jobs for our community in this respect, and if you guys have any questions, any concerns, during those 13 years that we ran the place, I believe we only called the police department only twice. And that was, we always try to prevent any potential concerns or problems that we have addressed. in trying to continue to run the place the best that we can without any concerns to the public or any problems, you know. So we would like for you to reconsider our proposal to reopen Tony's Place.
Thank you very much for your
Okay.
comment, Ms. Jones. Is there anyone else here who would like to make a comment on this item?
Hello, my name is Gabriela Rivera. This is my husband, Victor. We are owners of La Royale, Panaderia Royale, which is right next door to what would Tony's Place, was just Tony's Place.
Did you bring us lunches or no?
No, we close at noon.
I know, there you go.
Next time, for sure. So thank you for your time. We're so for Leon having the bar. We've never, within the last 10 years, when it was in my husband's hands and my mother-in-law's, we've never had any type of problems, and we have employees going in at 2 in the morning. You know, a lot of times you have people leaving at that time, and we've never run into any issues, at least not from Leon's Place. Other tavern there has had a little bit of issues. We did have to call the police with them, but we've never had to, we've always been, good neighbors, right next door to each other. We hear their music when we're starting our beans but it's not loud. It's not, we share a wall. That's basically why we can hear it. We can't hear it when we're coming in. We've never had any noise problems. Any of our customers complain of any noise problems or of any like that of Leon or any of the previous tenants. Have never bugged any of our customers or any of our employees, and we're there a long day.
Yeah, like she says, when Leo runs a place, he runs it, I think he runs it very good. He's concerned about, obviously, us too, because he's, part of the same business, so I'm very comfortable when he's there. Not these last tenants, but the ones before, I did have a little bit of issue because there were different customers, I suppose, different age groups, and that kind of there were some problems, like they actually broke my glass, one fight that they had, and I called the police and, I reported and everything.
Sure.
But I noticed it was because the other people didn't really care. They just kind of and with him I feel comfortable. I feel like he's gonna take care of the place. It's his place too. He's gonna take care of it.
Certainly.
And like she says, there's no, the people that go there, we have no issue with it. We have no, there's never any problems. There's never any really safety concerns at all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Guzman? Mr. Guzman, you would like to make a comment?
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Guzman.
Evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ray Guzman, and I live and I work at 1117 Main Street. We've had a house there since the 50s, behind that little bar. It's a little patio. And we were first established in 1947. So we've been there 71 years today, this year. And taking this opportunity, as I look around, and I don't recall ever seeing any of you in our place, so you must come and have a beer. And it'll be on the house. So you can at least, I've invited you in the past, but you have never come except one of you. And so please take this opportunity to come by and see it for yourself, and make your own decision after you come in. I think that's the best way. I feel very good about saying that I'm glad that Mr. Leon Carvajal is getting a lot of compliments. Unfortunately, it hasn't always been that way, as sometimes with neighbors. And it behooves me to say that I don't foresee that it's going to be favorable, because it's just a bit much, 2 bars back to back with the kind of economy we have at the present time, and also the diverse type of clientele we have. I have records. I have them in the car. I have about 20 spirals full of events that have occurred in detail with officers and people. And I did not trouble rounding up people to come before you, because after all, you've heard this before. And it's not just the noise. There has been many men sent to the hospital from that place under the direction of all owners that have been there. So this can be proven. This is not just a point of view. And with, I mean, it's just incredible where they would gather around in a circle and punt them. In my case, I know the 2 people that came in and drugged me. I know who they are, but I cannot disclose because that's going to be under investigation. And they drugged me, and then somebody jumped the fence from next door and pulled this arm out, it's still out, and punted me all the way down. And that was looked at, and I believe I have some photos and suspects, but that's under investigation at the present time. But now he is taking over, and I like to think that it would work out, but no. They had a metro. Do you know what a metronome is? A metronome? Mm-hmm. That's a mechanical thing that makes artificial sounds that have very high frequencies. And he would turn this on at accompanying music and projects, tremendous projection. They'll go through wood, through iron, through anything. There's nothing to stop that. And this is a kind of a punishment, I think, because it has no redeeming value insofar as entertainment is concerned, as far as I am concerned. And I have photos, and there are photos of speakers this tall, this wide, and brought into the place, and I have walked with officers to the corner of Palm, and the noise would be there, much less next door in my place. And that's, but, and I didn't want to come here and start saying negative things, but it's very hard after 20 years of this. So I don't foresee where it's going to be beneficial, and I can see why they would have a hard time renting the place. I can, because there are no people coming about anymore. And if you look, what is that thing in the computer? I don't have a computer. I never wanted to learn a computer. That thing where they make comments about the business, not Google, the other one, Yelpies. Yelp. That's it, Yelp. If you will look, not this place in Yelp, you'll see the comments about my place. And then you can look at Tony's place, and you will see the difference what I'm talking about. So please do that. And please take my offer, and I invite all of you to come in. And the first beers are me. I'm eating it. So.
For 21 and older, right?
Yeah, right, 21 and older. We have a lot of high school.
We have some high school students here.
But
21 and older.
I don't want to sound like they're people too, they're trying to make a living. But it's just too much when you have two places like that, and predominantly.
Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Well, we certainly appreciate your comments. If there's anything else you'd like to add, if you can wrap up your comments now, we'd appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, okay, I'll take it back to council. With respect to this action, this is for discussion potential action to approve the determination of public convenience and necessity for sale of beer at Leon's Place located at 1115 East Main Street. Is there a motion to approve this item? Seeing none, I'll make the motion to approve. Is there a second to the?
Second.
Yes.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you. And I hope that the two can be friendly neighbors and be work well together. Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is regular business 5C. Discussion potential action to approve City of Brawley comment letter regarding proposed remedial action plan for the former Pure Grow facility located at 1025 River Drive. It's on page 47 of the backup material. Who will be presenting this? Our city manager? All right.
So Mayor Nava and members of the council, on February 8th, a community meeting was held at the ICOE property here in Brawley city limits to discuss a draft remediation plan for the Pure Grow facility located at 1025 River Drive. At that time, the city had prepared preliminary comments that were read into the record by our mayor, and the city committed to a second round of comments based on the manner in which the meeting was conducted and based on the type of comments that were entered into the record by our community members. We have, since February 8th, been notified of an extension to the deadline for public comments. So for our community's benefit, please note that the deadline has been extended to March 9th. What is included in the backup is a draft letter that is proposed for submittal on behalf of the City of Brawley. What it does is highlight a request that is really rooted in the context of honoring the community's concerns and questions about the future of the site. We formally request in this letter the performance of a peer review that takes a look at the proposed remediation plan and looks at ways to incorporate community concerns and interests in the ultimate approach. And so what, in essence, this means is that should DTSE wish to consider this topic in earnest, the council is asking that the applicant, which is the Chevron Corporation, consider assisting with the resources to perform the peer review. This particular strategy was developed after the city consulted with a resource that's available to municipalities, which is the Center for Creative Land Recycling. And we're hopeful that this proposed approach could assist both the applicant, DTSE, and the City of Brawley with reaching a type of final solution that is a best fit for local circumstances.
All right. So I take it all council had an opportunity to read the comment letter that was drafted. Is there any concern with the draft that's been proposed? Or any language changes that are suggested?
No.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. I think it addresses the heart of what we had discussed at our previous meeting. It also takes into account the public comment that was shared and expressed at the meeting the other day at Del Rio Center. And so if there are no concerns with the draft letter. Is there a motion to approve the comment letter?
So moved.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Mayor Nava, if I may note for council's information that we do have both community stakeholders that were active in the discussions at the Del Rio, as well as Chevron Representative Michael Oliphant here in the room, should you wish to address any of them with questions.
Sure. Yeah, there is a motion and a second. I'll wait before I call for the final vote there. But is there any member of the public or a representative from any of the organizations that had any comment with respect to this letter?
Eric Reyes, 1128 Elm Court. We want to thank the city for being present at the hearing. Mr. Nava, as mayor, read the letter into the public records, and the city manager was there, so we thank you for all that support. And this letter further conveys what is a very good step to get a peer review. It's something that's available to you, correct, you said? So that would be fantastic. On our end, we're continuing the comment campaign. It's great. We'll be announcing a larger gathering so we can help people who don't have access to computers to do that. But we also are looking at litigation on the side against not just Chevron, but also the department for its lack of due diligence in meeting with the community, whereas they've met so many times, and I hope that will be part of the comments also. They've met so many times with Chevron, they have only had minimal meetings with city and the public, only one with us. So we're going forward on many fronts as well, so we thank you for your continued involvement, and I hope you continue to be involved in negotiations on the behalf of the residents of Brawley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this topic? And it's addressing the letter that's being drafted here.
Good evening. My name is Tomas Perez.
Mr. Perez, how are you?
I also would like to thank Mayor Nava and the City Council, city officials for supporting what we're trying to do with that pure growth situation. I wish 10 years ago we would have this support, but I see a very positive the way they were going now. And I want to thank you again, and I hope that we continue having your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our city manager would like to point out some clarification.
Just one clarification to Mr. Reyes's comment. So what the request is actually asking Chevron to provide the financial resources so that a peer review can be conducted. As I have gathered additional information on the proposed approach, it is a practice to ask the applicant to support a community-based peer review. And so we're hopeful that we can join with Chevron in achieving that with this particular site, where we'd have an independent third party give us the opportunity to weigh in on the proposed strategy and ways to kind of develop more meaningful mitigation for the community. So.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a comment on this particular topic? Seeing none, there was a motion and a second by the City Council. I will call for the vote here. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular business D, and it's a mid-year 2017-2018 budget review presented by Rosa Ramirez, our finance director, and this is her first presentation as finance director, so let's give her a big round of applause. Congratulations to you, Rosa.
And then we'll decide after the review.
I know, I know after the review, we'll be like, I don't know about, It's pages 48 to 66, and she does have a presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Nava, members of the council, Rosa Ramirez, Finance Director.
Getting used to the title, right?
Yes, I almost said assistant. I have a presentation for you on the 2017-2018 mid-year budget review. The purpose of this review is just to go over the budget for the current fiscal year, review significant funds, and then give you a snapshot of actual versus projected numbers at this at the mid-year, which would be December 31st.
All right.
So the first slide is just a snapshot of what 2017-2018 budget got approved as. This is the overall city budget, all funds. The beginning balance was $36,568,000. Estimated current revenues for this budget year was $43,044,000. Estimated current expenditures was $49,550,000, with a projected ending balance of $30,063,000. At that point in time, the council also was aware that they were using general fund reserve, the tune of $392,724 for operational deficit, and the state resource water board payment of $133,000.
And one question regarding that payment, when is the last payment?
Second to last. right?
Second to last? That was
This
the-
next fiscal year
Yeah,
will be
with
the final
final
payment of our $1 million settlement.
There you go.
So when is that?
Next
Next
fiscal
year.
Next year, okay.
Thank you.
At midpoint, just again, the approved revenue was $43,044,000. At year, the actual budget was projected at, actual at 35% of the estimated budget, or $15,068,000. And for expenditures, the budgeted amount was $49,550,000, with the expenditures at 32%, or $15,975,000. And this is just a comparison between fiscal year 2017 versus fiscal year 2018 at mid-year point. For 2016-17, at mid-year, it was 32% of revenues received, with 41% of expenditures. And the current 2017-2018 fiscal year, revenues are at 35%, and expenditures are at 32%.
Rosa, just on that snapshot right there, is there any further color on noticing that the actual and the 2018 expenditures on the actual side seems significantly low on the year-over-year comparison? Is there something
That
significant
is something
there?
that I can follow up and dig a little deeper.
Okay.
And come back with something.
10%.
Is it typical for for revenues and expenditures to not be up to 50% of the projection by mid-year?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's sometimes that timing on the property taxes is one of the factors. You'll see in a further slide that the vehicle license fees are, I think, budgeted at $2 million, a little bit more than that. And those revenues don't come in until February, May.
Gotcha.
So it's really just a timing, year after year, it's just timing on when particular funds come in.
Doesn't mirror the years.
On the general fund, we started the year with estimating $14,951,000. At midpoint, we have $5,303,000, or 35% of what we budgeted. With expenditures at $15,344,000, and we have expenditures at midpoint $6,975,000, or 45% at the general fund.
And I think it would be probably easier to determine what expenditures will be than what's really coming in, right? And so that's probably part of the reason that the numbers are a lot more accurate in that sense, so.
Right, and over 80% of any given funds, the staffing for it is devoted to
Right,
the staffing piece of the equation.
right. So we know it's very
Unless we have
consistent, right.
vacancies,
Right,
we should be on target for 50%.
right.
When would we be concerned? I mean, if we don't see this, that 35% would be a concern if we don't see the revenues increase.
Well, it's an excellent question. Our track record has been, this is exactly where we are at this time of year every year. So I wouldn't say let's raise the red flags and be terribly convinced that we're not going to hit the targets, because it's exactly where we were the last 5 years at this time in a fiscal year.
But we don't get a report every month, but it is monitored by our finance director, and you. So
Right.
there were to be a concern at any time, then you would bring it to the council?
Right, so at this point in the year, we're in February, we are in the process of closing out January revenues and expenditures. So we're running approximately 2 months behind. And the one disadvantage this cycle is that we've been late to get our audit completed for last fiscal year. And the reason that matters is because the carryover balances that are a part of our budget process are estimated for the prior year. You don't know for certain what those dollar figures are until all adjustments are complete and you actually have a true picture of your carryover balance. And what we do in the budget process with each of you is determine what is your appetite for risk. Would you like us to, what we tend to do is be extremely conservative about revenue projections and plan for our worst case scenario with expenditures.
Yeah, if I can just further, I think for public clarification also, I know we have, when my first year on council, I had very similar questions. Just again, for clarification, on the revenue side, it doesn't just stream in at an equal kind of level month to month like you would think of revenue.
Like a retail business or a,
But the year-over-year comparison seems to be, at least in my 6th year of looking at this, pretty comparable. So it's pretty easy to protect kind of the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year versus the second 2 quarters of the fiscal year, which is where we tend to kind of catch up on the revenue side. So I would assume if we see something alarming, it would be more on maybe something really significant through audit or something like that may have been missed. But I think it seems to me it's been pretty level from one year to the next. So I just want that clarification.
Yeah, my concern is just that we wouldn't get hit with a big surprise if something happened that we didn't get the anticipated or planned revenues, that we would be notified, like we wouldn't go 3 months or something before we were told we didn't.
If you look at page 56 of your packet, you'll see the timing of revenues received at the city. And so it's not until June, for instance, that property taxes are realized. So all that we could tell you is April. By the time April figures are known, we're in May. So we, at best, could let you know a month in advance without the final payment having been received for the fiscal year. So it's, every budget is a fluid process. And what we try to do is be as thoughtful as possible in the projections and not overly optimistic about what is coming in the door.
Okay.
Will the, if SB1 is repealed, when would we see that affect the budget?
So SB1 is a feeder to a special fund. So the most sensitive, when you look at all of our funds, there's about 14 or so total funds. The most sensitive, when you look at how we carry out projects, are the general fund and the water fund. They're the 2 that are in the most fragile state at this time. SB1 doesn't feed into either of those. It's its own entry into streets-based improvement. If I recall correctly, SB1 estimates are approximately $160,000 per year. That's what we're estimating them to be. And this fiscal year, they are actually proposed to be a smaller figure because of the implementation date. We were required to recognize them in a budget adjustment that came before the council. You may recall that the streets that were identified for use, we had to actually call out the streets that were going, for which the funds would be used this fiscal year. Those streets are part of the LTA Phase 11 project list. So they'll be proceeding regardless of whether or not SB1 funds are available. So the question would be for next fiscal year, let's say SB1 is repealed within a window prior to budget adoption by the council, we just eliminate them from the equation.
Okay.
Just means fewer roadways,
Yeah.
roadway maintenance work, fewer segments being addressed.
This next slide identifies 4 of the top revenue bringers into the general fund, with property taxes being top. The midpoint, we're at 55%. And the vehicle license fee at at mid-year was at 0%, but we've already received 50% of the city's allocation in January. So we've already received $1,130,000. That's not included in this slide. Sales tax is at 24% at midpoint of the budget year, and utility users tax is at 40% at midpoint of the budget year.
And you said that the VLP swap property tax is received in January and May?
Yes.
Is that what?
I think February, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, January and May.
And so this report only captures
We've
through
received
December 31st.
it, but it's not in there. This is
Right.
December 31st,
Right.
so it'll show up on the next one.
And just for illustration purposes, this is a snapshot of the four top revenues for the city in 2016, 2017. With property taxes being at 53% at midpoint. Again, the vehicle license fee was not brought in yet. Sales taxes was at 37%, and utility users tax was at 37% last year at mid-year.
And I think one of the things we did on this budget, I noticed, was we only increased one area, and that was in I think the sales and use taxes that we budgeted more money than the previous time. And so we would anticipate that there would be some increases in those amounts, although they may be minimal. But we took a conservative viewpoint on part of the council and I think on part of the staff, and we budgeted in very conservative figures in there as it reflects into the coming year. So I think that's important to note.
The projections for sales and use taxes, typically the finance director has talked with our sales tax auditor, which is HDL Companies, and they assist with developing rates of growth that are consistent with our local context.
And they've been very helpful in providing
Pretty on
information as
target.
they have been on target. So.
One of the things that we noted in the last quarterly visit with HDL, last year at this time, we had already experienced numerous tent sales in the Walmart parking lot. This year, we haven't, it's not like a set schedule for tent sales. Parties come forward and ask for a permit to perform those transactions within the Gateway specific plan area. So they're not a sure thing as to the city's hosting of those activities, but one of the dips was noted as a result of the reduction of tent sales this calendar year.
Yes, that's the decrease of 13%.
Okay.
The next slide just explains a little bit on the variance. On the property taxes, there was an increase of 1%, and payments are allocated December, April, and June. And the vehicle license fee swap, those come in January and May of the fiscal year, and we have received the 50% allocation in January. Sales and use taxes, that what was Rosanna talking about, the decrease of 13% in receipts compared to the previous fiscal year. And utility users tax, there was an increase of 3% compared to the prior fiscal year.
Okay.
And these are just measures that the city takes to be on top of the budget and make sure that we are all on budget. On the department head level, department heads review specific budgets. They prepare budget adjustments to adjust for any account overages. Budget adjustments are not to exceed overall budget amounts unless they're approved by the council. At the finance department level, we review purchase order request, review revenue and expenditure reports, request departments to prepare budget adjustments if necessary. And again, the budget adjustments are not to exceed overall budgeted amounts unless approved by council. For Fund 211 on the streets gas tax, the approved budget was $584,000 at 50% of the fiscal year. We've received $259,372, which is 44% of what we estimated. On the expenditure side, well, the budget was $1,641,000. Expenditures are at $309, $249, or 19%. For Measure D, Fund 215, the approved budget was $1,272,000. Revenue coming in is $201,513, or 15%. For expenditures, we had 906,000, and we're at 337 expended, or 37%.
And as we get ready for this next rollout of projects, we will see the expenditure portion begin to climb as we produce the results for the second half of the year in actual capital projects.
For Fund 501, the water fund, the approved budget was $5,919,000. And at 50% of the year, we're at $3,196,000, or 54% of the projected revenue. For expenditures was $8,866,000, and we've expended $2,020,000, or 23% of the estimated.
Same thing there on the capital project.
For Fund 511, our wastewater fund, we had estimated $5,075,000 of revenue coming in. At 50% of the year, we're at $2,742,000, or 54%. Expenditures, we budgeted $4,102,000, and we've expended $1,583,000, or 39% of the estimated amount. Just some additional information. We do have a water fund loan from the wastewater fund, which was $1.6 million. There was a payment plan discussed during budget discussion and anticipated annually at year end. In fiscal year 17-18, there's a fifth annual payment, and the amount is $102,000, and that includes principal and interest. And one other note, residential and commercial utility rates are increased annually as scheduled every March 1st. The solid waste fund, Fund 521, the approved budget was $1,320,000. At 50% of the year, we've received 51%, or $674,000. Expenditures were budgeted at $1,320,000, and they're right at 50% with $662,000 in expenditures.
Reconciled frequently, so it's a lot more accurate than the rest, right? So. Yeah.
Fund 531, the airport fund, revenue was estimated at $124,000, and again, 50% mark. We're at 50%, or $62,000 for revenues. For expenditures, the amount budgeted was $101,000, and $25,000 has been expended, or 34%. Outlook on the general fund for the 2017-2018 adopted budget. Facts that we know was the operational deficit, again, the amount of $392,000 with expenditures over revenues, and the State Water Resource Board payment of $133,000. One of the unknowns is the CalPERS pension changes, increase in employer contributions, as the council knows. For 2016-2017, the audit is ongoing, continued. There's still adjustment being made. One thing I did notice was that the budget was adopted for 2016-2017 with an estimated general fund reserve of $1,189,000. And just looking, and this is an unaudited number, just looking at revenues and expenditures, there seems to be a smaller gap. At $1,155,000. And again, this is an unaudited number. The water fund, it was noted that there was $100,000 more in water sales over budgeted amounts, and there's also a vacant position that equals about $90,000.
Okay.
On the wastewater, I did note there was a 1% increase in sewer charges over budgeted amounts.
Very well.
So
Are there any
that's the reason
questions from
for
council?
I was just clarifying that that's the reason for your operating gain on the water fund and the wastewater fund? Okay. Thank you.
Partial to the fact that there's an employee salary that's not being paid out, right?
That wasn't time.
Are there any questions from council on the presentation? I think they were asked during the presentation, but.
I might just have one general one, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
Just from the vantage points now that we're past the mid-year, any just high-level news for us as far as how we're looking toward the close of the entire fiscal year? Are you pretty confident, in other words, our original budget, or are there some? I figure this is the time, and we're going to go into budget season anyway, so it might help frame some of what we're
We're still
doing.
in the middle of conducting audit, and I'm just touching bases, seeing what's next, the next steps. So I can probably ask and see what the next steps to conclude the audit.
And Rose, I'll be more specific than being, obviously on the expenditure side, obviously revenues are important, but I think we're pretty confident, more so I think this year on the revenue, but it just, does it appear, seems like on most of what we've seen at mid-year budget review, expenditures are right on track. But you're anticipating we'll finish this fiscal year pretty much
Yes.
as projected? Very
Yes.
good.
I have a question regarding the water revenue or expenditures. Do we already have proposals for meter replacement for this fiscal year, or is that for a later?
I can, perhaps it'd be helpful to prepare a package regarding the Siemens Energy Efficiency Initiative. So the city signed on to an agreement with Siemens to come in and conduct a detailed audit of the performance of existing meters. Approximately 70 meters were pulled throughout the city, residential and commercial. They're at a lab, and in the coming weeks, we'll receive the results of that audit. The basic idea is that if the results are favorable for a move forward, it would mean that over a 15-year period, if Siemens moved forward with the initiative, it's basically a design-build solution with a financing package attached. They would meter all users, so replace all of our aged meters and then capture all of the unaccounted for commercial accounts that are currently on a flat rate and not being charged on a volumetric basis. And the financial model is that the design build and new accurate capture of water consumption would produce a set of results at the 15-year mark that the project would pay for itself and the city would come out $1 million ahead. So the detailed audit is in the process of evaluating whether or not the numbers are there to reflect it, and part of the equation is also that the city would be successful in an award of a grant from the state water board. So there's a lot of variables in play. We hope to have the results soon because the failure rates that we're experiencing from existing water meters is pretty staggering. And it's only until the meters read 0 that we have the ability to identify underreading. And so underreading means that the electronic pickup isn't occurring in the same fashion as the rest of our meters, and a manual read is necessary. So we go back to the actual physical location and perform a review of the meter on site and do the manual read, which is not, it's less than ideal, it's inefficient, and it's also very hard on our customers because the adjustments come after the fact. So we're looking forward to a total solution. And very shortly, we'll have the results of the detailed audit. If the numbers make sense, it'll be in the council's court to determine the move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Rosa, I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation. Congratulations on getting through it today. It's your first one, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it looks like you're up again for the departmental report at 6A.
Yes. I'd just like to remind council that as the city adopted rates in 2015, proposed water rates, or the water increases, that are coming to be effective March 1st is a 9% increase from what we have right now. So we're, for residential, for 1 inch and below, we have a current of 3509 and we're going to 3824. For 1.5 inch and above, we're going from 6811 to 7424. And the variable rate for per 1,000 gallons of usage, we're going from 167 per 1,000 gallons to 182, and that's on the water rates. On sewer rates, we're going up 3%, and we're going from 5106 to 5209 for residential single family, And for additional dwellings, we're going from 3829 to 3944.
Very well. Well, thank you for the update. Next item on the agenda, thank you again. Next item on the agenda is informational reports, and that's 7A, investment activity report. And it's by our city treasurer.
Who is not here with us this evening, but included in the backup is the most up-to-date as of December 31st. Earnings noted for our varied investments. So just as a recap, our deposits are with 3 local banks, in addition to LAIF, which is housed by Union Bank, so that's our 4th location. And then the remainder are investments in multi-bank securities with various ladders associated with CDs.
All right. Well, thank you for that information. Next item is for information. It's a record of building permits. If you have any questions, please express them or ask them, please, but it's for your information only. All right. So again, thank you, everybody, for getting through the agenda. And we'll start off with city council member reports, and we'll start off with Mr. Luke Hamby, Councilmember Hamby.
Thank you, Mayor. I got to go to a few events with some of the other council members. We attended the Flip the Switch ceremony at BUHS, providing free Wi-Fi to students throughout the city. Got to go to the David Hoskins Memorial Arena dedication for the FFA kids out at the USDA property. That was a very nice ceremony, very nice arena. It's very similar to what's at the fairgrounds, so much so that I heard a little kid ask his grandparents when he could go on the rides. So it was
That's cool.
very nice. I got an opportunity to meet with the public a couple of times over the last couple of weeks to hear some concerns, and one of the themes is the issue that we have with some homeless residents. And I appreciated the fact that Commander Hauser was nearby, and he stopped by to say hi and was able to field some questions and some concerns on that front. And I think was able to alleviate some concerns about people's perceptions about how that issue is a growing issue, and what we can do to mitigate it. And I think there is generally there's concern for most citizens. How can we help these people, to be in a better position? And it always makes me grateful to be in a community like this, because that sense of community of trying to help others. So that was a neat experience. I neglected to make a couple comments about the Taco Bell restaurant while it was in the consent agenda. I just wanted to say about that I think it would be helpful to take a look at formula restaurants, chains, that kind of stuff, to see. I know studies have been done as far as the impact that a chain, a national chain, has on a small local economy, as far as how much of the dollar that's spent at that restaurant or at that chain circulates into the local economy compared to a dollar that's spent at a locally owned and operated business, restaurant, etc. And I think it would be helpful in the with the object of being business friendly in front of us. I know that not all business is helpful to a small economy like we have here. So I think it would be helpful in the future to look at whether we should either limit or do what we can to limit the large chains coming in that might create an issue for some of the smaller businesses that we have here, the mom and pops. I think part of our responsibility should be in order to be business friendly, is yes, reaching out to new business and making it as possible as we can make it for those to settle here. but also the other half of that is to be as helpful as we can to the businesses that are here and are established. And so I think it would just be helpful as a council to take a look at the ramifications of a large chain coming in. How much of that money spent here goes back to the corporate office that doesn't really circulate through the economy here. So that's I just wanted to have that on record. I had a question about the County Solar Mitigation Fund grant that Supervisor Kelly touched on, I think, at the last meeting. And I would just like to request, Rosanna, if you could follow up with him on that. I think he said there's $1 million available through the Solar Mitigation Fund, portions of which will go to each community. And so I would just like to see what's available for Brawley and what we can use those funds for. I think it would be helpful to have a report for the rest of the council to see at the next meeting. Also, I wanted to see if we were any further with putting together an org chart.
Planning to bring it to the strategic planning meeting.
Excellent, thank you. And then also, and this may also be part of the strategic planning meeting, the concept of putting the city commission minutes and agendas in a user-friendly format on the city website.
I believe that effort is already underway.
Great.
If you wish for it to be part of the strategic planning discussion,
No, if it's
we can
already- if
incorporate.
it's-
We are working between IT and Spectrum to see how we can feature it in the most intuitive way
Mhm.
when people are navigating the
Great,
site.
thank you.
Any additional comments?
That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Kestner Howdy.
Okay. Well, I too attended the Border Link project at Brawley Union High School. It's a great event, and I think it puts Brawley on the map again. I think the Brawley Union High School, along with
The
the
Wi-Fi
Imperial
map?
County, yes,
Wi-Fi map.
Wi-Fi map. Imperial County Office of Education, we're all doing a great job with our school and our students. And I also did a presentation for the senior club. Every once in a while, they'll call me and ask me if I'll go over and share with them what's happening with the city or an update on our meetings. And so I was pleased to be able to do that. And I had the opportunity to visit with some of the downtown merchants, and we realized that there's some ordinances that maybe some of the downtown merchants are not familiar with. And we're trying to do everything we can to help them, to have their events and for them to be successful events. But I guess they need a little bit of an education on some of these issues. And so I did talk to a couple of them and hopefully resolved the issues that they had, because we want to make sure that they continue to draw people in and do whatever we can for them. So I talked to Katie Luna with the Chamber of Commerce to see if she could also help and assist them, the ones that are chamber members, and if they're not chamber members, maybe they can join for assistance on some of those topics. And also, they had some concerns, and since we're all focusing on working with the downtown and improving our downtown, some of the merchants have some concerns, and I have been sharing those with Rosanna, and we're looking into those also, and following up with them as soon as I can. And then, let's see, on the ad hoc committee, we have not had the opportunity to meet, so we, Mayor Pro Tem Donnie Wharton and I promise to have a report ready for our next regular scheduled meeting. We just were really busy this past couple of weeks, and we're unable to get that report done for you, but we promise to have that soon. And then one other thing that Luke mentioned, on the org charts, only so that speaking for myself, if I could have those org charts before the meeting, before the strategic planning meeting, because I think we're all going to be looking at possibility of making suggestions on how possibly do a reorganization to assist in getting our business done. If we could have those org charts before the meeting, that would be very helpful.
We'll try our very best to package all materials as early as possible this week. It's for next Monday. So as
I know.
of tomorrow,
Short
tomorrow's
term.
Wednesday. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, trying our best
Okay.
to get the information to you as soon as possible.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
No, that's
No?
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Couchman.
Okay. Basically, I attended the Dave Hoskins Memorial Arena ribbon cutting, real nice, our memorial event, and they have a real nice arena out there for the FFA kids. And if any of you haven't been out and looked at the FFA farm out by the in the old ag station area, you probably should do that. They've got a nice setup out there. It appears very safe for the kids and safe for the animals, and it looks real good out there. So, and then Dave was real active in that, and I knew him, and he was very active, and I think he would be very proud of that arena and the whole covered area and everything that they have out there. I attended the Flip the Switch at BUHS. I think that's an important thing. Everybody's on the internet now. I think it's important for the youth of this city and others in this city to have availability of internet. Many do not, and I think that will go a long ways toward alleviating that situation. I also attended the Stockman's Club board meeting today, and we also received harassment training, so I can harass you all a lot better now than what I could yesterday.
You're very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
I know I am. Yeah, I'm an expert. I also attended the Friends of the NRA annual banquet at the Swiss Club.
Speaking of harassment.
I'm involved in that, and so I was there on Friday. Very nice event. Speaking of harassment. Yeah. Okay, and I also got to attend a really neat event at Phil Swing School, and they invited me to come and Jump for Heart, and it's a Jump for Heart event. It's an annual event that they put on. I would like to send out kudos to the fire department. They were there with the engine and everything, and they led the kids in calisthenics and other healthful ideas, and I thought the fire department personnel did a fine job there, and also the teachers over there at Phil Swing and the staff, they did a fine job, and the kids were wonderful. And I got my picture taken with a bunch of the kids, and it was just a great event and Jumping for Heart. My granddaughter attends Phil Swing, so it's nice for me to be over there. The resource officer was over there from the police department, and a lot of other individuals and volunteers from the community were there, and it turned out to be a really nice event. So I'm happy for that, and the kids get to exercise, jump rope, which I cannot do because I'm not coordinated enough. And so I didn't even try.
You didn't do double dutch or anything?
No, I can't. No. It's bad. So I just said I'm too old. Yes, thanks, Norma. So that's my report, and that's all I have. That's all I have for.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councilmember
Mayor.
Couchman. I appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attended our division meeting for California League of Cities, and Councilmember Hamby was able to make it, and I know the rest of our team was obviously attending the hearing, so I appreciate a little bit of the divide and conquer. And we had a good meeting. Obviously, they're a great guest speaker, and obviously always the opportunity to get updated on what's happening at the state and regional level. With that, it looks like, by way of lack of vote, I may be continuing my position as president of the division.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, for another year. There is no perpetuity with that. So, but as we continue on, obviously what I hope to do is, being our delegate and representative there, that we continue to make sure that we're not only well-informed, but we're behind obviously the legislation that affects our local community the most. And it really begins with keeping as many of these decisions and resources local. So attended ECRMC Mardi Gras Gala. Also attended the Flip the Switch with all my colleagues. It was a great, I really want to specifically say this, BOHS did a phenomenal job in the planning and really the execution of that whole presentation along with ICOE. For me personally, it was very eye-opening because there were many things that had happened there with the history of that whole project that frankly I was unaware of. So I thought it was very good because I'm able to go out and share that story, share that technology, and share that service with others. State of the City, the Brawley State of the City address and breakfast, well executed. Mr. Mayor, you did a phenomenal job.
We attended that.
I thought the approach was slightly different from what we've seen in the past, but it did address the past, the present, and the future, and I thought it was well done. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to congratulate you, obviously, on behalf of our colleagues. Also, State of the City El Centro, which I did attend, and I am not going to say anything. It was done very well, but I would say by comparison, ours is a little bit more intimate. So, but that was a great opportunity down there always to go down and support our sister city. And we always get a great welcome down there. And then along with that was also their El Centro Chamber Mixer, because it was again hosted and put on by the Chamber. So I had an opportunity to pass through there as well. So been a busy week. Just forward-looking, this Saturday is going to be an event at the Brawley Municipal Airport that in the past couple of years have been held here in Brawley. It's the Navion Society, which is a national association of a particular model aircraft. So for the aviation enthusiast, the Navion aircraft has a long history here in Imperial County. That event has subsequently made its way to Brawley because of, again, I always kind of tout it, but the condition of our airport, the user-friendliness of our airport, and really the whole layout and proximity where those that want to visit can actually enjoy a little bit of an air show. Also, what's going on is the lettuce tournament, so a lot of competing things kind of happening, but I look forward to supporting that, and I know some of the key folks that have allowed that to happen, but they'll have a few hundred people attend and multiple aircraft, so it ought to be a great event. Mr. Mayor, other than that, we're preparing for the strategy meeting. I do owe a get-together with our city manager to put hopefully some final touches. It should be a carryover of some of our previous workshops, but there's some specifics we want to make sure that we're able to present. So as a council, I'm just encouraging us, not only bring your ideas, be prepared, be semi-casual in terms of this is a workshop. So I think we can take away some of the formality and really get into the type of discussion that we've been touching on here in our council meeting. So I think it'll be a great opportunity. Remember, we always aim for the moon, but at the same time, we want to really keep it narrow within the scope of what we can deliver. So it's not necessarily a dream session as much as it's what's the go forward and really getting our heads around what we're trying to accomplish goal-wise for the next fiscal year or next 12 months. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wharton. And it is a semi-casual Councilmember Caltron, so you can wear shorts, but make sure you wear a tie as well. So
I will, don't worry.
Now, listen, everyone, I do want to thank staff and everyone here on council for the support at the State of the City address. It was, I'm looking forward to 2018. I know there's a lot of work that we have ahead of us. There's goals we've set before us as we've campaigned for office or as we've sat here on city council for multiple years. There's things that we want to see improve. We've seen years of improvement. We've seen slow and steady growth, but I think there's a lot of activity going on in 2018. Look forward to it. And again, I appreciate your support as staff and council at the State of the City address. And again, I'm looking forward to 2018. Also was able to participate at the Pure Grow meeting, Flip the Switch, and some others. But more importantly, I just want to thank everybody, all of staff and the public, of course, for staying engaged. I know the Pure Grow item has been one that has really brought forth a segment of the population and really energized them. And I'm happy that as representatives of the city that we're able to do the same. So thank you all very much. And we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Just one brief item, which is wanted to make you aware that the Finance Department received communication from the state of California. Recently, I will forward the correspondence that we have filed regarding an upcoming visit by Board of Equalization personnel. They'll be visiting businesses in our city limits. They give us a courtesy heads up.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Board of Equalization, as you know, is interested in businesses.
And the reporting.
The reporting of sales.
Make sure it's accurate, yeah.
And Rosanna, we had this occurred about 4 years ago, if I can recall. I don't know how routine the visits are, but I do remember maybe something like that. And it seemed like there wasn't too much adverse impact. I don't know, but hopefully that's the case. Okay.
It's a courtesy notification to us. The results are outside of our hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And make sure there's 5 tacos to the lonche, no more, no less. All right.
Nice.
Any other? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
learned not to do that at Horizon.
No, you know, I just.
He's talking about food, isn't he?
La Royale, I haven't been out there in a while, so it reminded me to go over there tomorrow morning.
For
So.
the strategic planning meeting. I'll
I
get
know,
lunches.
right? That's
a
that's what
great
we should
idea.
do. That's a great.
I'll call her.
You know, that was what my son's, like, when he was in 7th grade, I remember, now he's a junior in high school, but he was in 7th grade, he forgot his lunch, and I called my brother, I wasn't available, I called him, I go, hey, can you take Georgie his lunch? So he showed up with a lunch, and he loved it, like, and so that he was requesting it from that point forward.
Every day.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's, the city attorney report?
We'll save it for closed session.
All right, fantastic. City clerk's report?
Nothing to report.
All right. And we'll take a short 3-minute break, and then we'll go into closed session, but thank you all very much for attending. Thank you.